bottled beers. Pouring a bottled beer into its respective glass will not only accentuate the flavor and aromas, but also the carbonation. In some countries, like Belgium, pouring a bottled beer into a specific glass is very important. In fact, some bars have one glass for each kind of beer, and if they don't have that respective glass, then they will ask if a different glass is okay, and if they would like something else. In addition to glassware, it is very important to know what temperature to serve your beer at. Here in the US, we drink most of our beers cold. This actually hides the flavors and is not the way it's drank all around the world. Knowing the temperature of your beer will also help you sell more and be able to educate your buyer. A few rules to keep in mind when knowing whether or not to chill your beers is the higher the ABV, like a double IPA, will be kept colder, and darker beers, like porters and stouts, other than Guinness, will be kept at like a room temperature. And lagers should be kept cold, and ales should be kept at more towards a room temperature. Never chill your glasses, especially for ales. This will cause condensation and ruin the carbonation, and also take away from the flavor of your beers. A few other things to keep in mind before we get started pouring beers is unfiltered beers have a larger head, more carbonation, and clean glasses is very important. Without a clean glass, you can ruin your head and add extra flavors that you don't need. The Guinness glass has a curvature to it. This helps you figure out where you should stop pouring your beer and change the angle of the glass. After opening your bottle, you will tilt your glass at a 45-degree angle and slowly pour your beer in down the side of the glass. You will do this up until like 3/4 the way of the glass, and you can tell where to stop because of the curve. Typically, you can see the carbonation and it'll give a very milky color. Normally, you would wait until the beer forms into this dark brown color, and then you would finish off the rest of the bottle with the head. Stella is a Belgian lager and goes in this goblet-shaped glass. This beer has a lot of carbonation, and when pouring it, you pour it similarly to how you pour a Guinness. You tilt the glass at a 45-degree angle and pour down the side of the glass. As you can see, there's a lot of carbonation. You can wait until some of this goes away. And the further up the glass you go, you straighten out the glass. Releasing some of the carbonation will also help not become bloated and help release some of the aromas. This kind of beer should have a very thick foam head, and some of the glasses even have a marking on the side to let you know where you should stop. Pilsner glasses have varying shapes and sizes. This glass has an angled edge rather than a curved edge. It's very similar to the Weizen glass. Again, tilt your glass at a 45-degree angle, and because of the carbonation in this beer, you want to pour very slowly. It's important to keep the flavoring in this beer. So after pouring at a 45-degree angle, straighten out the glass and pour directly on top. The specific beer does not have a very large head and will diminish quickly. It has a lot of carbonation. While some beers may seem like it's okay to drink still in the bottle, a Chimay should always be enjoyed in this glass. The opening of this glass is very large and allows for the carbonation and the aromas to develop. To pour this beer, pour directly down the middle of the glass. This will allow for the carbonation and head to form. The head forms directly underneath where it says Chimay on the glass. It's important to leave a little bit of the beer still left in the bottle so you can swirl it and get the rest of the yeast. This beer is finished in the bottle, therefore a lot of the flavorings is still in the bottom. If you have trouble digesting the yeast, you can skip this step. Hoegaarden is a wit beer that is unfiltered, and it suggests that you put it in a hexagonal glass like this one. Because it is unfiltered, it will have a very strong carbonation and a thick head. You can pour this beer slowly at a 45-degree angle and watch as the head forms. Straighten out your glass and swirl the sediments. Swirl the sediments at the bottom of the bottle. Pour them directly on top of the beer. This beer has a lasting foam head and an unfiltered color. You may be wondering why we were pouring a Bud Light. This is to demonstrate what happens when you properly pour even at the cheapest of beers. Pouring it quickly into the glass and letting the carbonation form. Letting the head diminish a little bit, and then pouring the rest of the beer in. This releases the carbonation and won't make your stomach upset. Now watch what happens when we put a paper towel into the glass. Most of the carbonation has already formed, and it is not releasing any more gas. Now, here we have a PBR, which is another cheap beer, and we're going to pour it the way most people think it's how it should be poured. As you can see, little to no carbonation is forming. There's no head. And the carbonation doesn't last very long. Now watch what happens when we put the paper towel in. The carbonation has formed after you poured the beer, and this is what happens in your stomach after you drink it. Pouring a Heineken is similar to other beers. I don't have a Heineken glass, but this one is very similar to the ones that they have branded. After opening your beer, pour at a 45-degree angle and allow for some of the carbonation to form. As you get closer to the top of the glass, straighten out your glass and pour the rest of the beer in. These are all the beers after I have poured them, and as you can see, a lot of the head has diminished. The only one, and the first one that I poured, was the Guinness, and it still has quite a lot of head. Thank you for watching my video.